When did you guys move everything into this building? When was...
We've been here since 1990. Prior to that, we were in Waldo Library, and when Waldo Library was renovated, we moved over here. It was supposed to be a temporary move, but sometimes temporary on this campus, you know, can take
a little longer.
decades. And it's the original use, of course, was a gym, and you see a lot of evidence of that. There's a running track along, you know, the edge.
Yeah, and those old ropes.
The ropes, yes. We still have the crank to crank them down. I wouldn't trust them.
So you guys do a lot of climbing on this?
No, no. Lots of exits and entrances into the building because this served as a gym. It also served as an assembly room. Okay. Actually, you can't see it too well here, but when you see those tables up there, you realize that this was a stage, and there were assemblies. Speakers came in, students had their assemblies in here, and so I think we've done a fairly decent job of making this space work for us. And the university is also, over time, we've added air conditioners, dehumidifiers.
Things to kind of keep it still looking like the old gym, but make it look more new also.
Also try to, you know, help have a climate that is conducive for storing our materials, that's accommodating to researchers. We get several classes in here too. I actually teach a class called Archival Administration. A lot of public history students take it, and we meet right here on the floor. And
so cool.
So
that's a good way for at least someone that goes to Western to get history about this place. And then how old are some of the materials you have in here? How far back do they date?
Well, we have regional materials and we have university materials. And the regional materials, some of them date back to the 1820s and 30s. And the university materials start, actually, they predate the university, because when Western was approved by the legislature in 2003, when they were approved by the legislature in 1903, they didn't indicate where it was going to be situated. And so we have the materials that document the city of Kalamazoo's attempts to get Western situated here, because it's very interesting. They said Western would have an economic impact of $50,000 annually, and of course now the economic impact is you know, in the millions, the hundreds of millions, the economic impact of having Western in Kalamazoo.
Wow, that's great for the area. And then I was reading also, is this the largest archive facility in Southwest Michigan? I was reading that somewhere because I was doing a lot of research on the building, and so this is one of the largest facilities for archives.
It is. Of course, when you come in here, it's probably not readily apparent because we have our materials stored in the lower level. We have some at an off-site storage. We are affiliated with the Archives of Michigan, and so we have county records for 12-county area in southwestern Michigan. And so yes, that would be true. We are. This week we've had some classes that have had homecoming emphasis. They wanted to find out about homecoming traditions over the years. So that's been an outreach that I think has been successful. Now we can gauge that success. I told all of them that as they have projects or if they are just interested or curious, they should come back, you know, as they continue their academic careers at Western. The building is the original entrance, and sometimes people, I don't think, realize that the way you come into the building now is actually you're coming in on the back side. People will be interested in knowing why that fencing is there. That is a relatively recent addition. Until about a year and a half ago, we shared the building with the School of Art, and they were wonderful neighbors. They were wonderful neighbors because they were interesting, creative people. They had studios in here. They had a gallery at the other end of the building, and we could go down there and check out what these were showing for their final BFA shows. They also had the added benefit that, you know, we're generally here between 8 and 5, and they would be coming into the building maybe around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So they really offered they sort of protected the building. I think people would not come in and really mess around and try and vandalize the building.
When was this building built, actually? It's so, like, you can just tell the detail is very old-fashioned, if you will, or...
It's sort of a classical style, and you see that in a lot of public buildings. And this building was constructed essentially between, I think they broke ground in 1904, but the middle part of the building opened in 1905. The gymnasium was ready for occupancy by the end of 1907, and then the far end of the building was completed by 1909, and it was a planned development. It was not a matter of, you know, trying to come up with funds, but they phased it out. They actually had a whole planned development for this East Campus, and not all of it necessarily worked out the way they thought it would, because there was intervening, you know, World War I and, you know, other things that came up. But this would have been where, you know, people would have entered the building. This set of offices over here, this would have been the administrative suite. President Waldo had his office in this area, and you can actually see his office probably better from the outside of the building. And other administrative and secretarial staff would have worked in that area. I think that room 105 at one point served as the bookstore, but you know, this building was in use for such a long time that over time, you know, the functions changed. Waldo had his office here. President Sangren had his office here, although Sangren would eventually move over to the administration building when they built that in the 1950s. And all these rooms along here would have been classrooms primarily. And that's the one thing that's kind of interesting to note, you know, how small they are, and I think it gives you a sense of the size of classes.